Hey, this is Kenny Aronoff, Sammy Hagar's drummer, Steve I and Joe Satriani's drummer. We've been on a tour together, and session drummer.
And cut.
Awesome.
We're out.
He said, hey, you know this guy, Johnny Cougar? He's on this new platform called MTV. I said, yeah, I've seen him, yeah. You know, he's on the radio. I said, yeah. It wasn't my style of music. I was more into, Weather Report or Steely Dan or, Rush or something. And she said, well, he just fired his drummer. They were on tour opening up for Kiss, and he just fired his drummer last night. Went bing, 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 bing. Went records, touring, MTV, radio. Are you kidding me? That's the Beatles shit. I went to a payphone because there was no cell phone. Called up the guitar player. I don't know how I had his number. I went, hey, Mike, it's Kenny Aronoff. Dude, I think you're looking for a drummer. He goes, yeah, call me in 2 weeks. We're trying to sort some stuff out. I put the phone down, went right to the record store. It's called Karma Records in Bloomington. They had the incense in there and all the hippie shit. Grab his last record, go home, write every note out of every song. Like, wow, the drummer played so simple. Really Charlie Watts type. I went, all right, memorized it. 2 weeks later, I get the audition. And after I play, they say to me, do you know any of the songs? I went, yeah, kind of. I know a couple of them. And he said, well, let's do I Need a Lover. It won't drive me crazy. We do that. I am playing so friggin' hard. I already play hard. I thought, well, they play in arenas, opening up for these bands. And John is just looking at me like I'm breaking cymbals, sticks, just pounding. He's like that close to me. And I play one more song. John goes upstairs. I'm packing up, going, I love it. Les Paul and a Marshall Fender and a Stratocaster into a Fender. I mean, this is great. Drums, bass, guitar, singer. And John wasn't even singing. He was just watching. And he goes upstairs, yells at the guitar player, Mike, get up here. I'm thinking, God, I hope I get this. Then I don't have to go to New York. And man, this is radio. He comes down, smiles at me, shakes my hand, and said, welcome to hell. We start rehearsing for a record that they have to go to LA and record at Cherokee Studios on Fairfax. And with Steve Cropper is the producer. Steve comes out, John writes songs, but the band has to come up with parts. Well, my ideas, my musical vocabulary was way too complex for his songs. So, and Steve came out and saw this. We go to LA, and in 2 days, I feel like I've made it. All that hard work, all that school, all that education, all the discipline, RPS, which is it's repetition of any skill, is the preparation for success. Repeat, 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 repeat. I don't care if it's football, drumming, science, whatever. You want to be good at something? Repeat. Put in the time. That's it. There's no top secret. I thought I'm in flow. It's all happening, and in 2 days I'm fired. I'm staying at the Chateau Marmont, room 3.
How did you get? Who called you?
Okay, here's what happened. I get a call, and I know, this is not. I can feel it. I go down to John's room. We're having a band meeting. John goes, you're not playing on the record. I'll pay you for the rest of the week. You go home. The words that came out of my mouth were life-changing. I went, no fucking way am I going back to Bloomington. And everyone, now John's a tough guy. He grew up in the Rust Belt. They solve things with fistfights. So the bands are smoking cigarettes going, holy shit, it's going to be a fight. And I'm like, what was happening, which I didn't understand. I was boxed in the corner. He was taking away my purpose. When I saw the Beatles on TV, I went, that's what I'm going to do. From here, not here. When John said, you're not doing it, I'm like, he was stealing that from here, not here. And I'm like, no fucking way, no fucking way. I'm this close. No way am I going home. So I go, well, am I still your drummer? And the band's going, oh shit. And John goes, yeah, but you're not playing on the record. And I go, well, I'm fumbling. Well, I'm going to go in the studio and I'm going to watch those drummers play my parts on your record. I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to get better, and that's good for you because I'm your drummer. He didn't say nothing. I went, shit. I went, all right, you don't have to pay me and I'll sleep on the couch. And he goes, perfect. So I went there. I felt like a loser. I felt overwhelmed. I felt like you have to realize, I was always eventually becoming successful by just pounding it out like a running back. Bam, bam. Eventually getting touchdowns. And this was like a scary moment for me. So I go to the studio and I did see, and I did learn. It was Ed Green and Rick Slosher were the session guys. And I'm watching this whole thing and I went, oh, I at that moment realized what a guy like Tom Brady is. Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes from Kansas City. These guys are badass quarterbacks, but they're team players. They understand, oh, you don't do this by yourself. I always thought it was about me. Practice, me. How do I sound? How do I look? How do I sound? I look. Now I realize, bink, it's about we. Oh my God. And I'll ask drummers this and they never get it right. I go, what is the purpose of a drummer when you're making a record for the radio? They go, time, yeah. Groove, yeah. Get along, yeah. Be musical, yeah. But no, what's the North Star? The North Star, when you're making records like that, is to get the fucking song on the radio to be number one. That's the North Star. Because when you get the song on the radio to be number one, you just made the label millions of dollars. They're making 82 cents, 85 cents on the dollar. The artist gets the rest. But it's a touchdown. Then you get to make another record and another record. Nobody tells you that when you get into music. I figured it out right then. I went, oh, I have to be the best drummer for John Mellencamp's music. It ain't about me, it's about we. I gotta serve the song, serve the band, serve the producer, serve the engineer. Oh, it's not about me. Wow, I had it all wrong. So when I went home, I stopped listening to all the Complex records I had. Stones, Creedence, AC/DC, Bad Company. Anything that on the radio, I was like, oh my God, I never did it this way. And that was the beginning of me becoming the guy I've become. This beat, time, and groove, no matter what you do, you better not lose that beat, time, and groove, because people are now used, especially if the beat is doosh, ga, doo, ga, doo, ga, doo. They look like that. You don't want to disrupt that. So that's a similar thing, and the discipline is similar, but in classical music, it's written out. Where in rock and roll, and with the Mellencamp band and all these other bands, a lot of people who don't read charts, sessions you read charts, but a lot of bands, I don't think the Stones read music, they work it out that way. Recently, I had to suddenly, with 23 hours, have to learn a whole 2.5 hour show of Van Halen stuff for Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar, Van Halen, Chickenfoot, and Montrose. With 23-hour notice, 45 pages of music. That's where that education paid off. I walk in and I write down when does Joe Satriani have to change guitars? Who do I count off? Who talks when? I got everything written down. I take pictures of all the music and put it in sequence. I have a metronome with all the tempos and it goes that way. And I'm reading, I got a foot switch that advances. It used to be on a music stand, but the advantage of the iPads, if you're playing outdoors and there's wind and you don't have to move paper. And so that, and then, when I did 7 years doing the Kennedy Center Honors, or that Beatle tribute, the night they changed America, everything's reading, everything. And like I went on tour with Melissa Etheridge once. I had 9 hours rehearsal for a 3-hour show. And I'm like learning the show on the job. It took me 3 weeks to finally memorize the show, but I had all that music and she took me to the next level. She turned around one night, we're in front of 15,000 people, says, I can tell when you're reading. And I went, that's not good. So what I did learn from that moment was when I'm reading, I always step out of myself as if I'm in the audience, watching the band with me as the drummer. And as soon as I sound like I'm reading, I said, that's not good. Yeah. So I'm fully aware when I'm reading, make sure you don't sound like you're reading, make it sound like you're not reading. So she put me on that path in 1996. And the next record was American Fool, which got 2 Grammys, and Jack and Diane went to number 1. Hurt So Good went to number 2. We had 2 songs in the top 10. They're going, who are these hillbillies from Indiana? Because like I said, you're beating out the Rolling Stones, or you're competing for that in that top 10 slot. Billy Joel, Elton John, the Beatles, Tom Petty, the Rolling Stones, not the Beatles, Paul McCartney, whoever's on the radio. And I mean, Hurt So Good went to number 2. We couldn't beat out number 1 because that was Eye of the Tiger, and Rocky had just come out. And plus the Scotti brothers, the Mafia was behind. There was no way we were going to get that. So Hurt So Good starts to come down, and back then, kids would call up one radio format would be album oriented. They'd be playing everything on the album. They go, we like Jack and Diane. We like Jack and Diane. So the record label sees radio playlists, and they're seeing around the USA and there's strategical markets like LA, New York, Philadelphia, Jersey, wherever. And they're seeing this Jack and Diane is doing really well. They released Jack and Diane when Hurt So Good's number 4. Jack and Diane goes blamming up the charts, goes to number 1. Hurt So Good stays in the top 10. And now it's like, holy shit. Okay, Jack and Diane was not going to be on the record. It was a folk song. John played on guitar, little ditty about Jack and Diane. 2 little kids living in the heartland. The chorus, oh yeah, life goes on long after blah, 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 everything's gone. And I walk in one day. It was the hardest record I ever made. John fired 2 guys in the band. I almost got in a fist fight with him. It was brutal. And then also I get, Aronoff, get in here. Mellencamp says, get in. We need a drum solo here. Mick Ronson, the guitar player from Bowie, was in the control room. He was friends with John. John was a big Bowie freak, and he made friends with Mick. Mick was there in Miami. We were at Criteria Studios in Miami. Mick, I guess, was down there, and John had him come in. Mick was very involved with, you should have drums do a break, or somebody thought of that. I think it was Mick. And John says, we need a drum solo. I'm like, on a ballad? So I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And I'm like, oh my God, I could get fired again. So I'm excited, but I'm like terrified. And I'm like, serve the song, serve the song, serve the song, serve the song. Get it on the record, get it on the record. Maybe it'll get on the radio. I learned my lesson. And I'm like, and we'll get it. Back then, the drums were in control, like a vocal boost. Now John's, I want the biggest drum sound in the world. We put it in the big room. Well, they know where to put the close mics and they know where to put the overheads. But where do you put the room mics? Because there's a delay and everything. They spent 6 hours on this. And I'm thinking, serve the song. What are you going to play? Serve the song. Now it's my moment. Kablam!
Yeah.
Kick drum snare, and I stop. I look in the control room. There's 9 guys there. Thumbs up. That's what, 18 thumbs. And I'm like, still got my job. I still got my job. I still got my job. I still got my job. And I'm feeling good. And I went, well, everybody goes down the drums. I'm going to go up.
Yeah.
So I thought I'll copy what the bass drum was going. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, and I go, boop, and I hit a dead end. And I come in here. I get in the control room. I'm freaking. Adrenaline's going, cortisol levels are all over the place. I got half the people telling what to play, half the people saying, don't do that. And that was at that moment, I went, you're on your own, dude. These guys aren't going to help you. I go out to the big room. I'm standing there. I'm thinking, this is like the World Series. It's a full count. You're in the World Series. There's 2 outs. You're up at bat. You get home run. You're the hero. Or you strike out and you're the loser. For the whole team. So I'm like 40 feet from the drums. I'm going, what are you going to play? And I'm walking and I'm like 30 feet. I'm just, I have no clue. 20 feet. Dude, you got to figure this out. 10 feet. I don't know what I'm going to play. I get the drums. I'm like, oh shit. I'm looking at the drums. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the drums. And all of a sudden, a light went off in my head. It says, look, you can't come up with a new idea. Use what you've already been doing. So I moved that, I moved it over an 1/8 note. And that's what I got from my studying drums. Boom, blah, 1, And this is what was happening. If you don't like the furniture in your living room, you got 2 choices. Throw it away, get new furniture, or rearrange it, make it cool. That's what I did. So I go, boom, blah, And before I got to John goes, hit a cymbal. And then I completely ripped off Phil Collins. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Ran out of times. I went, blue-do-do-do, a triplet. And they went, cool. And then John's like, well, don't stop playing, man. Keep playing. Mick Ronson was the one that said, that's what my understanding is, have Kenny keep playing. You guys write this a cappella vocal thing, which eventually was, so let it rock, so let it roll, let the Bible come save your soul.
Yeah. I can hear the solo in my head right now.
Stop.
Famous part of the song, and it's like huge.
I know. Well, I had no clue. It was going to be one of the two most famous, on pop radio solos in the air tonight, and Jack and Diane. So I get the thing done, and I'm just glad it's going to get on the record. I'm just excited. So, the record comes out, and I remember Hurt So Good listening. I'm driving. I'm like, oh my God, it starts with drum. And it's just drums, loud as shit. I had to pull over the road. I'm dancing on the highway in Indiana. And so, we made a video and showing Indiana. People are like, what? That's wild. I've never seen Indiana before. And when they said that Jack and Diane was the next single, I'm like, so check this out. I'm at the Chateau Marmont, 326, the same room. I got fired from the album. I hear it's Jack and Diane went to number 1. So we did the way it works, so a year making a record, and then you do videos and promo, then you rehearse for tour, you go on tour. That's a 2-year cycle. And then you take a month off and start again. We did that for 8 years, 4 albums. And then all of a sudden we're Lonesome Jubilee, we're at the Forum, where you saw that, we're in a private jet, we're selling out arenas with no opening act. And they were about to put us into stadiums with a package with 2 other bands, and we were ready. And the last show of the Jubilee Tour, 1987, John throws a bonus check at me. He says, don't spend it in one moment because I'm quitting the music business for 3 years. Quitting. I'm like, what? I had never even thought about it. Now, I had made a Belinda Carlisle record, which had Heaven on Earth, which went to number 1.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, that was a taste of session work. I did Brian Setzer's first solo record out of Stray Cats called The Night Feels Like Justice. And I did a couple other records. But when John quit, that night I freaked out. I'm like, and I just gotten my first divorce, and I'm like, oh my God, how am I gonna pay my bills? And all this stuff. Next morning I woke up and went, I worked with one rock god for 8 years, now I'm gonna go work with all the other ones. So I started coming out to LA, and eventually I get a call a year later. I'm bumming around, doing sessions here and there. Get a call from this guy, Don Was. Goes, hey Kenny, it's Don Was from Was Not Was. I'm like, wow. He says, how'd you do a Bob Dylan record? I'm like, what? Touchdown. And then he calls me back a week later and says, Bob's on tour. How'd you do an Iggy Pop record instead? I'm like, shit. So I did an Iggy Pop record. I had to meet Iggy. This is the funniest thing. He said, Don said, I want to meet you. Come down to the record plant. I thought Don was a black guy because he's in Was Not Was and he talked like cool. And I walk in there and I see 3 black singers and Sweet Pea. But I says, are you Don Was? I ain't no Don Was, motherfucker. I ain't no Don Was. I'm like, oh shit, man, I'm so sorry. And I go over to these 2 white guys. He goes, man, do you know where Don Was? One of them was Don Was. I says, do you know where Don Was is coming? He says, I'm Don Was. So, okay. We're making that record, Iggy Pop, and all of a sudden, Don, where's Don? He had to go to the Grammys, wins 2 Grammys for Nick of Time, for Bonnie Raitt, and Love Shack.
Oh, yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, the phone's ringing. I'm doing Elton John with Don Was. I'm doing Seeger, who I mentioned went on tour with Seeger. I was getting called to do it in all the TV shows and everything. And all of a sudden, Kenny Aronoff's session career was launched. I had drums in New York, Nashville, Indiana, LA, Germany, and Japan. People fly me all over the world. And since then, I've recorded over 300 million records sold because some of the records, I'll give you 2 records. In 1991, I'm making this record with Meatloaf. And I'm going, you guys, and there's one song called I Will Do Anything for Love. I'm like, this song is like 8.5 minutes. You understand? Radio plays 3-minute, 20-second song. You're wasting your money. No one's going to play that song. And by the way, there's this thing called grunge music out of Seattle. You heard of Nirvana? You heard of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam? Mother Love Bone. Nobody wants to hear these songs anymore. And then a year later, I get asked to add 2.5 more minutes to that song. That makes it a 10-minute or 11-minute song. I'm like, you guys are way... Sure, pay me. I'll do it. Song comes out. It got mixed down to 7.5 minutes. It's #1 in 25 countries in the first week. I went, well, if you want any advice from me, listen to me and do the opposite.
Right.
Another song went to #1. Same thing. I'm doing a Patti Smythe record. And it's a song with Don Henley on it called Sometimes Love Just Ain't Enough. A beautiful ballad. It went to #1 on all formats. And I said, you guys, no one's going to play this song. They're playing Teen Spirit.
Yeah.
And I was wrong. It was a beautiful song. And people wanted to hear it. It went to #1. And all in the same year I recorded both. So I was like, I was on Blaze of Glory that went to #1. The album went to #1. The song went to Bon Jovi. All kinds of stuff, you know. It was minimal. Back in the 90s, it was the opposite of Motley Crue and Bon Jovi and Cinderella and all these hair bands.
Yeah.
They were going like grunge. They wear like, lumberjack, Flannel, that's it. They wear flannel. They don't look like rock stars. They look like just got out of bed. It was just a new movement. That's what happens. Okay, when the grunge thing started, we were all learning, whoa, what is this? That was probably the biggest change, the first big change in my, being in the music business, because it was really quite different. But it didn't really affect us as the Mellencamp band because we were established. It didn't affect Seeger when I went with Seeger. But then I go on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins, who were the biggest alternative band in the world after Gish Siamese Dream Melancholy, and I'm on the Adore tour. I'm now playing with the biggest alternative rock band in the world. They were globally huge. And I go do that tour, and I felt so honored when I got that call. I was like, I loved the Smashing Pumpkins. When I get the call, I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was getting called to make the record. It wasn't the record. It was the tour.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, whoa. He says that Billy only wants to, audition a few drummers. And I remember the manager goes, well, if you get the gig, will you say yes? I said, I can't say yes. I don't even know when we're rehearsing. I don't even know. Because was I in the Mellencamp? No, I was out of the Mellencamp band. But I was playing with John Fogerty at that moment. I now was playing with John Fogerty, who's like, Creedence songs. Yeah. So, when's the rehearsals and when's the tour? I can't say yes to something I don't know when. Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? That type of thing. Well, a couple other things I needed to know, if you know what I mean. So, well, I'll get back to you. He told me, and it was interesting. I learned every song, practicing 8-10 hours a day, off of all 3 albums. Which actually 4 albums, because Melancholy was a double CD. And Jimmy Chamberlain is insanely incredible. So, I'm flying to LA, and I'm like, flying to New York from LA, and I'm like, I get there. I get to SR, it's raining. I get there at like 8:30. Billy didn't even show up till 1 a.m. He comes in with a trench coat, smiling, tall, bald and beautiful like me. And he says, hey, he's all about business. He takes off the trench coat, gets his guitar, and says, look, we already know how to play hard and fast. I want to play, just make trippy. I want to do more like jammy, like Pink Floyd-ish. All right, sure. And he's kind of doing, textural stuff, hitting cymbals, add some toms. I'm like, we got to get into a groove here. So I started to add the snare drum, and finally went, I'm going to put the pedal to the metal. Started pounding it. And Darcy's looking that way, from my perspective. James is looking that way. Billy's looking right at me. He stretches out his leg. We're going at it. When we get done, I said, all right, is there anything I can do to make it better for you? He just smiled. And yeah, just do more of the same. All right, did it again. And I felt like, I got this gig. These guys are not even into me. I mean, there's no vibe. So, I said, oh, thank you. Next day I'm at the airport. Billy would like you to join the band. Well, of course, you know, once I left the Mellencamp band, I turned down a lot of tours. I turned down the Elton John tour because I wasn't ready to leave Mellencamp because I was such a key member in that band. And, you know, I was doing a lot of the press and, you know, the camera would go to John, then it'd go to me. And then, you know, I felt like I was like Charlie Watts and the Stones. I felt like I was part of this band, you know, or Keith Richards. And so, and I didn't know, you know, if I played with Elton John, am I there for one tour? You know, it was a big move. And I got asked to be in the Highwaymen band. That's Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, and Waylon Jennings. And when I turned that down, the manager goes for Willie Nelson, all right, let me get this right. You're saying no to Willie Nelson. Oh, and you're saying no to Johnny Cash. Oh, you're saying no to Waylon Jennings. And you're saying no to Chris Christopherson. I went, yep. I just, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to like, by the way, these guys, these are the real country musicians. Oh, yeah. This ain't this commercial pop country. Yeah. These motherfuckers were picking cotton. Some like Waylon was living on a dirt floor picking cotton as a kid. Yeah. And you know, these guys, their lyrics on about, you know, a girl in a mini skirt, blue jean, you know, these guys,
country, man.
Yeah, like or these Johnny Cash, you know his story. Jesus. These guys were hardcore. So they like you. That's a compliment. Oh, yeah. Because they won't have shit to do with you. They're talking amongst themselves. Let's get Aronoff, man. He's a fucking cool dude. To be in my band, John Bonham, Dave Grohl, you know. These are guys, well, I don't know if I'd get along with John Bonham. I know I'd get along with Dave Grohl because I played with him. Yeah. But, you know, oh my God, there's so many great ones. I don't know. Those are two I just thought of.
And anybody that inspired you along the way as you were, you know?
Oh yeah, when I was a little kid. One of the big, you know, of course, you know, anybody you were hearing, obviously, you know, Ginger Baker, you know, Keith Moon, Charlie Watts, Ringo Starr.
Keith Moon that you loved so much?
Keith Moon, his raw energy, crazy, and he had the spirit of rock and roll, and he was crazy, but it all made sense. I loved Mitch Mitchell because Mitch Mitchell was a jazz drummer playing rock, and I identified with jazz and rock. So I thought Mitch Mitchell was definitely my hero for a long time. Then I got into the Billy Cobham type thing, you know, I saw that. What the hell is that? Right now, I'm like trying to learn the licks I did on the live recording with Sammy Hagar on a Van Halen song called Right Now. We did a live recording and I'm learning what I played on that live recording. The sequence of drum fills, I'm like, wow, I got lucky, man. Those are cool. Yeah, and so I'm trying to memorize what I did.
This is different from what Alex Van Halen recorded?
Yeah, that was different, definitely. Yeah. He didn't do as many fills, you know. Okay. It starts with the piano. That type of thing. Right. What was the next one? And those are the fills. And I was like, what the hell? What was I thinking? And again, then later on, when it goes into a whole, it's a different arrangement where I'm doing crazy ass fills. And I'm like, wow. So I want to try to be close to that because I love Van Halen. God, playing in that band, I feel like I'm in Van Halen and Zeppelin at the same time.
Yeah, But some of those old Sammy tunes are amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, come on.
Bad motor screw. Doing it too fast, or rock candy. God, 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 Scott, Papa do bat, boo da da, boo boo bat. Don't rush. You know what the whole thing is? The hi-hat. That's the most important instrument on my drum kit. The hi-hat. Or ride if you're playing ride. That's your metronome. Follow that. You get that locked in with the rhythm guitar. That's, to me, is everything. Not the bass. The rhythm guitar with the hi-hat. And then I follow my hi-hat and I lock it up with rhythm guitar. That's everything. That's where I'm at.
Walked